All right, welcome into the BFR Podcast presented by Sports Mockery. My name is Dave. I cover the Bears for Sports Mockery. You can check out all my work, all my articles over there. I'm joined by my good friend, co-host of the BFR Podcast, Ficky. Follow him on all socials at It's Ficky Baby. Of course, follow the pod at all socials as well at BFR_pod. And man, just when we thought, I think you and Jack, our producer over here, were talking about how the offseason kind of it ebbs and flows. And just when we thought it was kind of dying down, we get, some really fun, interesting news regarding Caleb Williams and, of course, Rome Odunze. Both going to be in Chicago. Caleb's already there. But before we hop into all of that, all the details, where they're eating, what Rome Odunze is going to do tomorrow, everything like that, Ficky, first of all, how you doing, man? It's been a few days. We had Kyle Long on last week, which was a great episode. You guys had a lot of great feedback. But how you doing, man? How you feeling?
Man, I'm doing good. Again, we're getting closer to the draft. So I was talking to Jack before the show. I was like, man, 22 days seems so long, but also it's like as close as we've ever been. Obviously, that's how time works. But it's actually in like the close enough vicinity. Like we remember how long ago we were talking about like the visits, or even 2 or 3 weeks ago, we're kind of like, is Caleb the dude? Like Fields isn't even traded yet, right? And so it's actually kind of crazy looking back, like how much has happened in like 3 weeks. And then I don't know if you saw the tweet today from Ian Rappaport, right? I think both of us already kind of feel like Caleb is going to Chicago, right? I think most people do. But he visited Chicago, but Ian said at the very end of his tweet, he said, likely his only.
You're already hopping into it.
Sorry, my bad. I'm just saying though, it's just crazy
right.
how far we've come. So, but how about you? How you been with all the news and what's been going on?
No, I mean, it's been nice to have a little bit of a quiet time, honestly. And then you just said it, Caleb Williams. It is interesting. I think that's probably the biggest takeaway from his 30, which it is. I believe it's his official 30 visit. Yeah. And like you said, Ficky, it is the only one right now that he's going to be taking, which, the Commanders, shout out to them. It kind of sucks a little bit in regards to, not even be able to meet the guy, hometown guy. It's been so funny seeing the media kind of push that narrative about like, oh, how cool would it be to, for him to go, with
they're still pushing
his former coach. Yeah, I see it every day almost, but it is, I'm doing well. I think today was, some fun news, especially in regards to Rome Odunze. I know Caleb gets the talk of the town, but let's be honest, he's going to be a Chicago Bear.
There's no
in about 22 days, like you said.
Yeah.
But I want to go ahead and we'll run through the timeline. Like I said, it was reported today. Mark Silverman, Waddle, and Sibley over there, ESPN 1000. I believe they were the first to get on it, except for there was a guy DM'd me. He actually commented as well. He had it a few hours before Seth Crane on Twitter, and then I think his name was Gary Ross on Twitter as well. He had about 5 hours before Sylvie. I guess he had tweeted it. I don't know if he's seen it, but he says he has some sources. So shout out to those guys. Obviously Chicago is a big city, but I mean, eyes are everywhere. Everywhere, especially with an entourage like that.
Yeah, you're gonna notice Caleb walking around in your city for sure. Like,
and it kind of explains. I'm not sure if everyone knows, but we had the. It makes sense. Like the Bears were. Ryan Poles got a haircut. I don't know if you saw that, right? I think you commented on it, quote tweeted it about him getting his haircut, and it was a nice little, at the barber. It looked good, and now it makes sense. Obviously 30 visit this week with both, two of the two top 10 prospects. It's interesting, but like I said, the reports were out. Caleb Williams currently in Chicago right now. Word is he's going to be staying at least through tonight. It'd be interesting to see if he's going to be here tomorrow. Rome Odunze. I'm sure they probably just want to do separate things, but it would be kind of cool if they were to somehow get dinner together. But I don't think that's going to happen for me.
Yeah, I think that's a little bit harder. Maybe if it was like pick 1 and 5, like if we had something that was a little bit closer, right? Where it's like, okay, obviously the first, we know what that pick is because we control the draft. But 9 is so far. So bringing them both into the mesh as if they're going to be together, you don't know that, so it'll be interesting to see. I mean, it's a cool story though. If that happened, then you draft them both and that story comes out, I wouldn't be surprised. I just don't know if that is the chance because there's so many variables still for 9. That's a lot of picks to wait to see if he's still there.
It all depends on those, first 4 quarterbacks. We've talked about it to death for the most part about how that's going to fall.
Wait a second here. Do you think there's going to be 4? Because it's interesting, right? I'm not discrediting the people that said it's going to be 4. This is actually like a genuine question because I'm not sure. I kind of trust what they tell me. But if you look at the past 6 years, I think, of drafts, right? Well, actually, if you look at the draft order, right? Most people are saying like 4 quarterbacks, 3 wide receivers, maybe the third one's at 9, like Rome would be off the board. But basically, they're saying in the top 10, 7 of the picks are quarterbacks or wide receiver. If you look at the past 6 drafts, there hasn't been in the top 10, first of all, when it comes to quarterbacks, there hasn't been more than 3, and that's only happened once. That was the Fields draft, right? With Trevor, Lance, and Zach Wilson. And then the other one that had 3 wide receivers was the Jalen Waddle year, and that was all the way to 10, because I think Jalen went 10. I think it was Jamar Chase, Jalen Waddle, and somebody else. I can't remember off the top of my head. But there also wasn't 4 quarterbacks there. So just looking at the draft history, right? Like, obviously, there's other positions as well. It's not the league doesn't just run quarterback, wide receiver. I know those are very touted positions this year, but do you honestly think that all 7 options are going to be off the board, or in essence, all 3 wide receivers will be gone before the Bears pick? I don't know. I kind of find it hard to believe.
No, I mean, you never know with the draft. Like, we won't know until those picks are locked in and we get to pick number 9, just because the draft is so fluid. We see every team's board is so different, and we don't know how, trades. I think there could be at least one big one, you would think, if not at least 2. And so it depends on the Vikings, who, a couple weeks ago, you saw the moves they made to get 2 first rounders, and it looks like they're trying to move up in all likelihood to get a quarterback. And so for me, I find it interesting. I would be shocked if all 3 of those wide receivers are not, or if they are gone. I think I don't think Neighbors. I think it's going to be Odunze. I really do. I don't think Harrison, as much as, been talk about him potentially dropping to 9. We've seen some mocks, I think is just outrageous. But for me, I think it really is. Like, it's been such a perfect story for Chicago in regards to how they even got to this point with, getting the number 1 pick from Carolina. And then, of course, with, Keenan Allen, the offseason moves. I just feel like everything has gone right for Chicago. And it's like a perfect story if Odunze is there. And I think there was actually a report from, I believe it was Brad Biggs, that I found very, very interesting, which we're going to get to the Caleb. We'll finish up with his 30 visit and everything. Some more details that came out about it. But it was in regards to Turner and Verst and how that would really amp up the Bears front. How Matt Eberflus even came out, I think, on the Bears podcast, like the Bears official podcast with Larry Meyer, talked about how he would love Mayer.
Yeah, you're good though.
And how he said that the Bears, Matt Eberflus would love to get a guy on the other side of Montez Sweat. So for me, that makes sense. Dallas Turner's my guy. I think it'd be one of the most athletic, most electric, duos, in my opinion, on both sides. And then, but this is what was interesting from Brad. He said, I also think the Bears might be leaning offense, either wide receiver or offensive tackle. They're going to draft a quarterback number 1, Caleb Williams, and adding another offensive piece helps set him up for success, which the Bears,
of course,
it's been talked about, RG3, all these comments about how they do not surround a rookie quarterback. They do not develop a rookie quarterback. And for me, that's why I've been saying go offense. Like, I like Dallas Turner. I wouldn't be mad, wouldn't be upset, but go get either, first of all, receiver if he's there, but I wouldn't be upset with the tackle. Trenches, we talked about it, Ficky. Then, of course, you have the outlier, which I see people saying it's like a luxury pick, but I don't get that. I understand having 2 great tight ends, but Brock Bowers, like, he does stuff that Cole Kmet or Gerald Everett, respect to them, these guys can't do. And Cole Kmet, totally, he's a weapon. He's like a receiver, in my opinion. Throw him in the slot. He would be so dynamic. So for me, I think they have to go offense. But I want to go ahead and finish up with the Caleb Williams, some of these details that we got out of just his meeting here. So first of all, pull it up, my notes. I was trying to reach out to as many people I could before we went live here. And I know a lot of it's already kind of been talked about. One interesting comment was, I think, with you and Kyle Long, Ficky, you guys were talking on Twitter. Do you kind of want to go through what you guys talked about as far as like the uniqueness of his top 30 visit in Chicago regarding Caleb Williams?
Yeah, absolutely. So basically, Kyle had talked about like, Kyle had posted retweeted the tweet about like Caleb Williams coming first 30 visit, having a dinner. And he basically was like guessing the dinner spots, right? So I was like, oh, okay. Kyle Long probably went through a similar process, right? Because obviously he was picked in the first round. So maybe they already had their eye on him when he came for a 30 visit. He got more of that treatment. Obviously times have changed. I know it's not like to the grand scale that is now, but I'm thinking, oh yeah, Kyle went through this. So I asked him, like, is this normal for a draft prospect? And he basically was like, no, not really. He said when he did it, there's two things that was crazy. He said he had 17 like dinners or like visits with 17 teams. That's a good amount of teams. And then this one doesn't have anything to do with Caleb, but he said he expected he was going to go in the third round. And if you don't know, we picked Kyle Long first round, pick 20, right? Obviously, he played like a first rounder. His talent was there. But to hear that from his perspective, that he didn't even expect he was going to go first, is kind of crazy. But he made a comment like, Caleb Williams, this is the first NIL baby, like from start to finish, right? Like that he came in with NIL and he left with the NIL, right? The first group to kind of go through that whole thing. That man's got 10 million in his pocket, right? How they treat some of these athletes now, which I'm for, right? I'm totally for this, is completely different than when Kyle Long got drafted, which was like, I don't know, 2010 or something like that. I could be wrong, but like a long time ago, 10 plus years ago. There's more money in the league. How you work and kind of like flash up these athletes, you know what I mean, is much different. So, I don't think it's a flag in any sort of way. I think it's just kind of the way of the NFL. I'm sure the following year or when there's another big prospect or not even quarterback, but like someone that's viewed number one overall, there's going to be other teams doing this same thing, especially when they know, hey, this is who we're taking number one. We're letting you know we're taking you number one. They're already going to bring him in as if he's on the team in essence. So I'm here for it. I'm just glad that we're actually in a position where we kind of know who we're taking number one. The prospect kind of knows we're taking him up number one, and we can start to build the chemistry already, which is very important, right? And it seems like they're already doing that because they talked about he had a dinner, but it wasn't just a dinner one-on-one. It was dinner with some other teammates. They didn't name who, but some other Chicago Bears teammates. And they did that same thing with some of the when they did his dinner at USC with his other USC teammates. So I think it's like another gauging point of trying to see how he interacts with people. And then also in this use case scenario, it's like, hey, look, we want you to get ahead early. Let's start to build the bonds. Let's get this thing rolling. So when it comes to, week one, you're ready to rock and roll. And obviously, like, that's a long time. But I think overall how they're handling it is totally fine. But yeah, honestly, the biggest thing from all that was like, how long you thought you were a third round pick? Like second, maybe I get it. It's the end of the first, but third, that's crazy. So, but yeah, that was some good tidbits to get from someone who went through that similar process.
Yeah. And first of all, going third round, that is kind of crazy. Kyle Long, first of all, shout out to him. Yeah, that'd be crazy. I mean, and then he went first, right? What did he go?
Pick 20. Yeah, we had a first
20?
round pick. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, anyway, so Caleb Williams, in regards to his visit. So there was talk about his medicals. Obviously, they were likely completed. Obviously, he's still there today. I don't know if he's going to be here tomorrow, but word is probably got that done probably quickly for the most part. I'm sure. I don't know if it's going to be talked about or confirmed just because Caleb's pretty private with that stuff. So I don't know. But for me, I would think that there's going to be some type of confirmation, probably from one of the big guns, Shefty, or maybe one of the locals, journalists, as far as just confirmation on those, which I have no worries. I don't think the Bears did either, but that was obviously a big talking point. So those completed at least before he leaves Chicago. And then also the Bears had him on the whiteboard once again. So there's talk about what at his pro day, a couple days, they arrived 2 days before. So that Monday they arrived to his pro day, took him out to dinner. Like you talked about, Ficky, took out his teammates, really got to know him, wasn't on his phone at all. And then they took him the very next day, that Tuesday before his pro day, all whiteboard, all about processing, racing stuff, bringing it back on. Well, they did that again. That was confirmed. I think that was from Waddle and Sibley as well, about how, they want to see how he processes information. Like that's important. Obviously, we talk about the quarterback here previously, Justin Fields. And sure, I mean, I believe he could process, but that was one of his weaknesses coming out of college. I don't think that's an issue with Caleb, especially with his time to throw. There's a lot of different factors that kind of go into that. But it was interesting that they again, put them on the whiteboard. And I think they probably talked about installs as well. I think there was reports about
continuing it, because I think they talked
basically
about
handing him the playbook early. I know they can't do that.
You can't do that, but I mean, in essence, look, that's the thing about controlling the draft. When you are pick one, you can start to do that. Like, if I'm sure Washington has an idea that they probably can't take Caleb, but they're probably in that similar spot as well. It's tough for like, imagine if we were just picking 9. You can't do that. You don't know who's gonna be. Like, you have an idea. They have their own mock drafts they go through and whatnot, but you can't be just doing that to like 5 or 6 different players. That doesn't work. So I'm not surprised about that at all, and I'm glad that they're doing it legally. They're doing it legally, NFL. So it's funny. No
legally
going on here.
It is. And the Bears, like you said, they have that 9th pick, which is so crucial. We're going to get to that because this is going to be our Q&A episode as well. Honestly, that's all it was going to be, but with all this news happening within the last 2 hours, we're going to start with it. Some more tidbits on the visit with Caleb. So current players were there. Bears front office, of course, was there as well. As far as the players, I haven't been able to confirm any. As far as I know, DJ Moore was not there. I think he's in England with his family on some type of trip. He wasn't. Keenan Allen probably showed up in all Bears gear. Let's be honest. But no leaks as far as what current players were there. But Sylvie, again, ESPN 1000, and then of course said that the current Bears players were in attendance, and of course the Bears front office. So now, as far as where they ate, Kyle talked about a steakhouse. It was in the north suburbs, and it was a steakhouse. That's something I've learned.
Makes sense.
I don't know where. I don't know why we're trying to find that out. Like, what, who really fucking cares? We should honestly be like wrong answers only as far as where they eat in Chicago or ate in Chicago. But I thought that was, of course, maybe I think Kyle talked about maybe being a private dinner, or a private room or something like that.
You have to.
Otherwise, people are just gonna be taking photos, or something along those lines.
Caleb's
a rock star. He's a superstar.
Yeah. You're not going to notice him walking in. Come on now. Yeah, you got to get a private room.
Let's see here. So also Chop Robinson. This is off topic, but as far as other visits, Chop Robinson was in town, I think last week. Malik Neighbors has already made his visit. And of course, now we have Rome Odunze coming tomorrow, Thursday. Will it overlap with Caleb Williams? We don't know. Doubt it. But I think that's, first of all, as far as Rome, I think that's probably the most likely pick if he is there. I don't think the Bears wait. I think if he's there, and the Bears are going to turn their card in pretty quickly, in my opinion. I don't think they want to move back. But what are your thoughts on? I mean, what do you think the Bears are trying to learn from Roma? I just don't see a lot, as far as what's there to prove.
At this point, I'm gonna be honest, like. They've had tape forever. So with all of these 30 visits, right, it's not about what this guy can do on the field. They've been following these guys for so long, right? So they're bringing the guys in because they have to try to get a gauge of what they can't get on tape. So the only thing they can learn is like, how's his personality? And they can't even learn that much. Like, they only have a guy for a day, like 2 days. Like, there's no way you learn like, oh, wow, this person is X, Y, and Z. You can pick up on some stuff, right? I think there's like a psychology. Don't correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure I remember watching like a draft special, something that the Bears did last year. And they talked about like, they have a psychologist, a social psychologist who kind of like can like give them ideas of like how their temperament is and whatnot. So I'm sure they probably pick up on some stuff like, oh, we can, it's all about predicting and projection, right? So we predict that this person may act in this way, or is this type of leader, or X, Y, and Z. So honestly, that's kind of what you're trying to get right now, is more of like, how is he going to be as a teammate, and how is he going to be as his work ethic, right? As Flus and Pohl say, they want someone who loves ball. So it's really like trying to figure out that cliche stuff. So like, the tape says what it is. Like, Rome Odunze, easily the 3rd best wide receiver in this group. And he's a tier from, people that fall after him. Obviously, he's in the same one with Malik and Marvin Harrison Jr. When it comes to deep threat and contest, he's probably the best in the game. Marvin would be up there too as well, but Marvin might be a little bit better overall. But I mean, at this point, it's like, do we like the guy or not? You know what I mean? Yeah. It's like your third job interview. You go in, they're like, we're picking between you and, like, there's 2 candidates left. They kind of just go with the guy or girl that they gel with the most at that point, because your qualifications, we have enough of it, and we've kind of gone through that and weaved through it. So I'm not worried about that. Now,
Ficky, I want to ask you this. I don't want to cut you off, but
no, you're good.
Because it's about who you like most. I want your decision right now. If you're the Bears, say for some god reason,
okay.
I know this has happened, but who are you picking? Marvin Harrison Jr., Malik Neighbors, or Rome Odunze? Like, rank those three guys for me. I have my order in mind, but I really want to know because it's probably one of the hottest topics as far as the receivers goes. You hear talk about Malik Neighbors, Marvin Harrison Jr.
Yeah,
but
they're
what is your
right yeah, so I mean, look, I've heard like Daniel Jeremiah say this and some other big names. It's like people are kind of like over analysis paralysis with Marvin Harrison Jr. right now. Like they did it with Caleb for a minute, right? And you're starting to see it where it's like, okay, we've known this is the number one guy for almost 2 years. Like Marvin Harrison Jr. is in that same boat. They were talking about him not just this past year, but the year before. Like, watch out till this guy hits the draft. Like he's been that good for this long. So for me to go against that, I feel like is kind of absurd from my standpoint. So I would have to probably go like Marvin Harrison Jr. 1, just because that's kind of been the consensus for a long time. Now with Malik and Rome, it's a little bit different because I think it's like pick your flavor, right? You want more of that shifty, short to intermediate type. You got to go Malik. Like Malik is going to get you that. He's quicker. He's shiftier. Like he is more of that Jamar Chase type, right? If you want someone who's a bigger body, deep ball, contested catch, right? Not saying he's not shifty, but like in comparison to Malik Neighbors, you got to go Rome Odunze. He's just that guy. He was the number one in contested catches, had like the highest percentage in like the past 4 years of wide receivers and percent of contested catches he caught. And he was one of the biggest in deep routes. I think his number one percentage route ran at 21% was the go route, the 9 route. So this man goes deep all the time. And I think his second was the post route, right? Which is, those are obviously like 15 to 20 yard routes plus. So it depends on what you want. It's almost like comparing DJ Moore in his prime, which would be about now, to Keenan Allen in his prime, right? Or just their careers. Keenan Allen, bigger type of wide receiver. He sits more in zones, but like back in the day when he was a little bit faster, like he was definitely a deep route, big ball type guy. You think of like a Mike Williams as well. DJ Moore is more of, no pun intended, but he does do deep routes too. Don't get me wrong. We saw tons of deep plays, but he's more of like, he'll do a slant across the middle, take that 25 yards, the Yak King over there. So would you look at that and go, oh, they both, DJ Moore is so much better than Keenan Allen? I don't know if that's the case. It's more of like, what do you need for your team? So if we look at our roster and how it's constructed, right? Keenan Allen is here, but he is 32. There is no deal that's been done. Doesn't mean it won't happen, but there is not a deal that is done. So if you want to draft someone, DJ Moore is only 26. So if I want to get someone to pair well with DJ Moore, I'm more likely going to draft some Keenan Allen's replacement than drafting someone who's going to be a replacement to DJ Moore, right? So in that case, my choice would be Rome Odunze, but I can totally understand why someone would say, I want Malik Neighbors instead. They both could be great. You know what I mean? And was Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, same draft? No, they weren't. They were two different ones. But you could hit on them both. All three could be great too. We don't know. So it's kind of like that flavor.
I like that comment here. I think it's by Impearl Gaming on YouTube. He goes, Rome Odunze at 9 would be a gift. It is. Like, it really would be. Like, any of these receivers, but I think Odunze, what you said is perfect. No better person to, help a guy kind of mature in the league, kind of grow as a player, learn the ins and outs, and probably develop a lot quicker than Keenan Allen what he would be able to do for Rome Odunze. So for me, it's honestly, I'm only looking at it through like a Bears lens, but it has to go Marvin Harrison Jr.
No,
obviously, for some odd reason you have a chance at him. But then it goes to Rome Odunze, and then it goes Malik Neighbors. And I've heard rumors, and this, when I first heard it, I was like, is this a smokescreen? Like, there was rumors about the Bears really like Malik Neighbors, and I bet they do. But it's
I'm sure they do.
Do they really think he's going to be available at 9? No,
I don't.
There's no fucking way. There's no way he's getting to 9, in my opinion. But it's like, are the Bears just trying to, send something out? Like, as far as we want Odunze, let's just not talk about him. Obviously, he's coming for his 30 visit, but that's just nuance. That's what's going to happen. You'd be crazy if you weren't. But it's like, I think Odunze, for my opinion, if they had, I know Matt Eberflus wants an edge. Again, that could be a smokescreen. as far as trying to get an offensive player, because right now the most important thing is Caleb Williams and his development. So as far as what they're going to do, it has to be offensive side of the ball. I understand the defense would be complete. It would be disgusting if they got Dallas Turner or something like that along those lines as far as another impact player on that side of the ball. But it's like, if you go and get Odunze, you get Malik Neighbors, you get an offensive guy that can really just be another playmaker, because then you could talk about what the Texans are doing with the trade for Stephon Diggs. Right now they have Tank Dell, Stephon Diggs, and then Nico Collins.
Oh, don't forget about the running back.
Well, I'm talking about the receivers, the trio. Joe Mixon. Yeah, Joe Mixon over there. I'm just saying, for a receiving trio, that's tough, man. That is insane. You look at the Bears right now. They have Keenan Allen. They have DJ Moore. You got Tyler Scott. A little bit of a drop-off. Tyler's our guy. But then say you add in another significant pass catcher, like one of the two receivers we talked about, Neighbors or Odunze. Then you're talking about perhaps if Odunze can really kind of adjust quickly to the league, which I think he's a plug-and-play type player. Especially if you take him at 9, you kind of want him to be. Look at Darnell Wright. You look at these guys. You take that early. You want them to be impact day 1 starters. So for me, I would love to see DJ Keenan and Rome as a trio, because then you have, like you talked about, Ficky, you have a mix of, sure, Keenan Allen is 32 at the start of the season, but look at Stephon Diggs. He's 31 at the start of the season.
Also, Devontae's 32 and he still balls out.
But how Keenan plays too, it's like his route running, the way he doesn't, it's not about speed with him. It's not about those traits that kind of go away with age. This guy's a technician. He's going to get the ball. He's not going to do what DJ Moore is going to do as far as yak, right? But he's going to get you 9 catches a game sometimes, and he's just going to be hard to guard. It's going to be really difficult. And for Rome,
big plays too. On big plays too, like third down, he's going to be huge.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. Imagine that, you're first and goal, right? And you have to look for Caleb and his legs, because that was the big thing with Justin, right? Then you have Rome Odunze, potentially. You have Keenan Allen, Cole Kmet, Gerald Everett, if you want to throw out 2 tight ends. And then guess what? You got DJ Moore. You got to worry about him. See how quick he is and how he changes speed and direction so quickly. He's shifty. Yep. The weapons on top of that, sure, you have to have time to throw the ball, but I think the Bears' offensive line, if they stay healthy and the additions they had, now having an actual center, and perhaps maybe even moving up with some capital from 2025 to maybe get into the 3rd, 4th round or something along those lines, or making a trade for somebody. So for me, I think the weapons and these receivers that might be available for Ryan Poles and company, I think you just have to make it happen, especially for Caleb.
Yeah, I think what's great about having 9 is that it's in such a good position to get a premium player at almost. You can get the number 2 tackle, because I still think Titans are going to take Joe All. It just makes sense. Every mock has it. So, but you can get the number 2 tackle in the draft, right? You can easily get 2 or 3, right? Because Malik could fall to there, very possible. You could easily get the number 1 interior defensive lineman, whether that's Byron Murphy or the guy from Illinois. Sorry, I'm blanking on his name. You could easily get one of the top 2 defensive ends as well.
And the Bears really like Byron Murphy from reports.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. It's like at 9, you are still in the mix because of how heavy the quarterback draft is. Even if only 2 go, which I think it'll be 3, 4, who knows? But I think at least 2 go. I mean, at least 3 go. That means 6 premium positions left that you get, and there's easily a good 10 to 11. So someone is going to fall there where you're going to walk away with the 1st or 2nd best person in the draft. So that's why I feel like they're in a very, very favorable position. I don't think they're going to trade back, but they could also do that and still get their guy.
I'm sure this is going to be on because we sent out a tweet about asking for you guys' questions. This is a Q&A episode, of course. But you talked about trading back, and this draft, it's been reported, it's been confirmed, it's just not that deep. So what a year to have only 4 picks, and the value is insane because you got some top.
They're all third round and less. Yeah, they're all the top rounds. None.
So I mean, as far as trading back, I don't want them to do that. I want to.
What about you? You wouldn't even trade back 1 like last year.
I guess if the receivers aren't there. If the receivers aren't there.
No, but think about this. Imagine this is what I saw this. I can't remember where I saw this.
Who's at 10?
Jets. Jets are right behind us. But let's say someone wants to jump in front for quarterback. Let's say, for example, everyone says JJ McCarthy all the way to 4, right? Let's say that's not the case because there's a good possibility that he doesn't go that high. Someone jumps up for him at 9, or people are talking about Michael Penix,
Minnesota,
who I love. Someone jumps up at 9 to get him, and we move back 1 or 2. Right? Let's just say we go to 11. I don't know who's at 11. Is that Minnesota?
It's Minnesota.
Actually, that is Minnesota. So let's say we do that. Jets are most likely, a lot of them are saying Brock Bowers or a lineman because that's what they need. They need offensive line. I know that for a fact.
Yeah, I would go.
So let's say they do that.
They got to protect
they're not going to
Rodgers.
You're right. So let's say they don't go. They're most likely not going to go wide receiver. So someone comes up to 9 to get the quarterback. Let's say Minnesota. They get JJ McCarthy at 9. We go to 11. We can still get our wide receiver. Would you? That would be perfect. And you'd probably pick up like a third. That's that. So like the trade, I don't want a big jump because that means we're definitely missing out on that top tier, right? But if you're telling me we move back like 1 or 2, Jets doesn't make sense. But we move back 2 to the Minnesota, I could do that.
Yeah, I mean it's possible. I mean for me, if Rome's there, you take him. I just wouldn't mess around like that. But I see it. You'd love in a perfect world if that were to happen.
Yeah, who knows?
Awesome.
Yeah,
Throw me in there. But for me, Minnesota, it's like we've heard talk about Justin Jefferson. We've talked. They have Jordan Addison. They like to draft receivers. They know how to do it too.
You think they would do a? You think
I don't know.
I doubt it.
3? But they've talked. Crazy. I mean, Sam Darnold. How much help does he need? Right? Like as far as ridiculous. That would be ridiculous if they trot him out there. I saw that report about Minnesota doing that. But you're right. Maybe they go in there if a quarterback slips all the way to 9, like a McCarthy, or for some god reason they like somebody else. But I think McCarthy would be the only likelihood. Most likely, just because I think the other 3 are going. You got Jaden Daniels, Drake May, like you mentioned.
Yeah, I think they're going
Chicago. But going Minnesota, I would just be shocked because, like, at the same time, you say you trade and they want to take somebody, but say for some reason you get an offer from somebody like Buffalo Bills, where I know they don't have a lot of picks, but next year and the following year they could really load up and be like, oh wait, don't throw the card in yet. We'll throw the house for number 9 to go get Rome Odunze or something like that.
Man, they need it too.
There's certain things you never know how to draft. You just never know. And I think there's a really cool video talking about how I think there's a GM. Who is that GM working the phones?
The Cardinals.
On Twitter. The Cardinals GM just working the phones. Like that's what happened. Like the phones are going to be going crazy. Yeah. Those top 15 picks. And so for me, the movement there is just too risky. And I would just say if there was a gift, like we talked about that comment earlier, if we are gifted Rome Odunze or a Malik Neighbors, you take them. You turn just like on pick number 1, where the Bears are just going to go in there. They probably wrote the card. They already wrote it down, and they're going to turn it in.
NFL's going to make us wait for that one.
I hope not. That would be hilarious.
That's what they do, though. They always do that. We're going to have to wait, like, not all the way.
Yeah, but we'll be celebrating beforehand. It will be reports out of, Adam Schefter, Ian Rappaport. The Bears are, drafting Caleb Williams. And then
no one should be shocked anyways.
But for me, I think that's what you have to do if any of those guys are available. So
all three are gone.
But my rankings.
If someone wants to trade up for 9, you'd go for that, and then you can answer that.
I agree. Yeah, if someone wants to trade and you can guarantee me we still get a receiver like that, sure. But I think that's gonna be tough. There's rumors about them going earlier.
So many at this time. I don't even know what to believe, to be honest. It's just, a lot of it again is projection. We know these guys do not know what each NFL team's board is like. That I wish we knew that. I mean, it wouldn't make any sense, but it would help like us pick like, oh, it makes sense that this trade would make sense because the value, because we know they expect X person to be here, but we're going in blind like everybody else. We'll just have to wait and see. That's what's exciting about it. But your rankings, how would you rank them? Obviously you said Marvin Harrison.
Yeah, my wide receiver rankings go, honestly, it really does go how I talked about earlier. It goes Marvin Harrison Jr. And it kind of goes like a little bit of a gap, like not a big one, but there's a gap. I know people talk about, these guys being close, and they are to an extent, but I still think Marvin Harrison is just insane. I think he's one of one. I think he's number 1, perhaps prospect in this draft. Easily. I think he's can't miss. I like Odunze, but as far as the tools go, I just feel like Marvin Harrison just has a little bit more to his game. So I don't know, but I think it goes Marvin Harrison Jr., Odunze, Neighbors. Neighbors and Odunze, they are kind of different, bags as far as like what they have in their game. but I do think they are close as well. I think it's closer than a lot of people think. So,
do you agree if, let's say, I don't think this is going to happen, right? But let's say Malik does fall to 9. Obviously, Rome's still there. Do you go with the route I think where it's like, hey, let's get more of that replacement type? I mean, because we don't know what their board is. So maybe they have neighbors higher and they don't care. Like they just,
I mean, you just go whatever your board is, in my opinion. I wouldn't be mad. Like Malik Neighbors going to 9 would be crazy because I think a lot of people see him above Odunze. But as far as the Bears perspective, and like you talked about Odunze really being a perfect complement to this offense, I'm not going to sit here and be like, no, Malik Neighbors is not going to fit. Well, Kevin, 2 of those guys. DJ Moore. I feel like those guys are similar, but it's like younger. He ran off 4.2, 4.3 officially or something unofficial. Yeah. Just so insane fast. Speed. We know what he can do. Anyways, it would be a gift to get any of those guys. So I think it's gonna be interesting. I want to go ahead and we have a bunch of questions. We have over 100 plus questions. We're gonna see if we can get to some of these.
Yeah, we'll hit all those, I'm sure.
Before we do, if you guys are first time being here, this is the BFR podcast, Chicago Bears podcast. It was funny. It was on. We got a shout out from Sylvia, of course, on ESPN 1000, asking about what does BFR stand for. The BFR podcast. It was kind of funny, but it is the Bears Film Room podcast. Something we started a couple years ago. We are excited. We are obviously partnered, and the show is presented by Sports Mockery. I cover the Bears for them, and we wouldn't be able to do it without them. So if you guys need your Chicago sports news, anything like that, check them out. Check my workout. And of course, if you're on YouTube right now, go ahead and hit that like button. It really does help grow the channel, support the community. We are growing almost at 4,000 subs.
Crazy.
And then of course, Apple, Spotify, you guys are awesome as well. Lots of reviews have been left. If you guys can keep doing that, it'd be great. And of course, we are going to be doing, as far as live shows, we'll be hopefully going live for the draft. Ficky's going to be there. He's probably going to be, calling in from his phone, of course, but a lot of really fun stuff coming for you guys. A lot of cool guests. Right now, actually, I'm gonna put Brisker on the spot. We're in the middle of talking with him. Got to get him on the show, man. I'm not sure if he's watching this. Probably isn't, but we've been trying to line that up. So if we can get Jaquan Brisker, of course, here before the draft, that'd be sick. One of our favorite players, of course. But again, like, subscribe. A lot of stuff coming up. Arrow celebration with Jaquan Brisker. Anything else before we move on to the Q&A, Ficky, that I'm missing, man?
No, you're good. I just got to give it the shout outs. So if you are first time watching, again, like Dave said, appreciate it. Much love. But if you are new here, go ahead and give a hashtag new face gang in the chat. Our producer Jack will pull you up before the end of the show and we'll give you a shout out. And then to everyone if this is not your first time, go ahead and give a hashtag OG in the chat and we'll give you a shout out as well. Whether it's your first, your second time or you've seen all 64 of our episodes, which I don't even think are 66. I don't even think I've done that. So that's incredible. But we go ahead and give the hashtags either or, and we'll give you a shout out before the end of the show. So we do appreciate all the love and the support, and we got some great stuff coming. Especially
seriously, I would say we should just go as long as we can here, but we are getting so close to, like I said, 4,000 subs. A lot of big news coming on draft day. We have a bunch of cool announcements. A lot of giveaways as well that will be going on there. So again, if you want to stick around, if you want to be a part of, obviously what we just love to talk Chicago Bears is what we do. We're excited to be able to cover the team, but we appreciate the support nonetheless. If you guys have questions in the chat live, throw those out now. Our producer, Jack, he's going to star them. He's going to bookmark them. We are going to get to those for sure. We have a ton on Twitter as well that we're going to get to.
So Mr. James on YouTube said, LOL, Dave is always trying to go as long as he can. That's funny.
No, my wife always laughs at me. I'm like, we'll do obviously we have we meet before and we talk about when we're going to do the pod. We try to do around Tuesdays, Mondays, Wednesdays, keep it as consistent as possible. But as far as like how long we go, it is never an hour. And I always tell her, we're going to do an hour long pod. There's not much to talk about. It's the off season, baby. Boom. We're here for an hour and a half, 2 hours. We're bringing any of our, our guys like DWC, Robert Schmitz, of course, Kyle Long, any of these guys. We just talk way too long.
You know what's funny though? Because like the guests come on and they always will be like, not every single one of them, but some of them will be like, hey, look, I got 15 minutes. I got 10 minutes. They come on here and we respect it. We're like, hey, look. We'll keep in track. When it hits 10 minutes, like, hey, let's get out of here. And then they just go on for like 40 minutes. I'm not mad about it. I love it, but that's literally what me and you do. So it's just funny to see these, professionals also do the same thing.
Like you said,
we talk as well.
we try to keep it as laid back as possible, as not as many ad reads as possible. Try to just keep it calm and about the Bears. Simple as that. That's something we love to do. Of course, we got to talk about some things, talk about the support, and of course, when we're going to go live and all the progress and everything. But at the end of the day, this is just a podcast about the Chicago Bears, man. It's all we do. It's all we talk about. It's what we love. And of course, there's no better time. And something that actually kind of sticks in my mind. If you guys have listened to any of the pods previously, there was a comment talking about, I'm done. I think it was it was the Justin Fields pod where we reacted to him being traded live and talked about how he was like, I'm done. I'm done with the Bears. I'm moving on. And you, Ficky, I think you said it. And it's just stuck with me. I'm like, what a time. What a ballsy move to move on right now.
Worst time.
Where the Bears are potentially going to be finally what Ryan Poles talked about on, I think, the Pat McAfee show about, we were brought in to kind of change, history, change what the Bears are about and break the cycle. And he's like, I'm out of here. As soon as Justin was traded, I don't know if he was trolling, but it's like, yeah, this is such a good time to be a Bears
crazy
fan.
too.
So,
I think you made a comment on that too. Like, you use this comment on the group chat, which is, I think is great. You're like, well, I gave Mitch 4 years. We've gone through Mitch. We've gone through the Cutler years.
Shout out to Mitch too.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Again, nothing against these people and humans, but the 10 years were not, the greatest. So if you can make it through that, you should want to make it through this one. When's the last time we had 2 1,000-yard receivers on our team? The defense is actually decent and the offense could possibly do that. And then look who happened to fall into the palms of our little hands. It's a very highly touted Caleb Williams. So you guys should be excited. Yeah, it should be fun. From a year from now, that could all be different. But right now, based on projections, it could be exciting. So,
hey, there was a comment here from A. Gustin. Harrison Graham episode was great. Also, shout out to Harrison Graham. That was one of my favorites. So,
and then literally news broke right after we ended that. That was funny. That was Keenan Allen.
Was it the Keenan Allen? We missed that by a couple.
A couple minutes. That was funny. But yeah, great show. Great show.
It was. So again, I think I want to go ahead and start bringing up the. I'll probably bring up the questions here. Probably going to switch the. You guys let me know in the comments here live on YouTube. What we're going to do is we're just going to go ahead and share my Twitter screen here so you guys can kind of see the questions from who they are. If I can pull it up here correctly. All right, so we got all these Bears questions here. Let me know. Here we go. So we got Jack Scroggs, actually our producer here. First question.
I know that guy.
Yeah. Says, do you plan on muting yourself at some point during?
No, he just muted himself on purpose.
Yeah,
I saw that one. That was good.
Yeah.
No, I saw that one was busting up laughing. That's hilarious.
Yeah.
You're actually, I think you're on a two episode streak of no mutes though, or something.
Yeah, knock on wood here, Ficky. Yeah. Anyways, for our Apple Spotify, I did mute myself while I was trying to react to that. But I thought that was funny. Shout out to Jack. We got SM Sports Mockery over here asking, when will Jaquan Brisker be on the show? Good question. I'm going to go ahead and like
TBD.
that so he can see that notification there. I know you see it, Brisky. Now, why was Ryan Pace? So here we go. This is from him on Twitter, @_ARILEVY. Why was Ryan Pace allowed to trade for Justin Fields after he traded for Mitch Trubisky and signed Mike Glennon? Ficky, I'll let you go.
So I saw Josh Lucas was on, what was he on today? PFF. PFF had him on. And so Josh Lucas basically came out and said, hey, look, this was a desperation move by the team. And Josh Lucas, was the director of player personnel, I'm pretty sure.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So he's in the war room. He's in the draft room. He's with these decisions that are being made, right? Even prior to that. And basically he came out and said, look, this was a desperation move. This was to save their jobs. So, and another key tidbit was ownership approved the trade. So they obviously, they knew what the proposal was going to be, Ryan Pace, and he obviously went to ownership, the McCaskies, and said, hey, look, are you going to allow us to give up 2 first rounds to go make this type of move, right? So not only was it desperation, it was also stamped by ownership. So if I'm Ryan Pace, I'm making that move because otherwise I'm going into another year because they just got rid of Mitch. I'm going into a year with a bridge quarterback of Andy Dalton, older Andy Dalton, out of his prime Andy Dalton, and Nick Foles. Like, you're not going to be able to save your job that way. So to answer your question, why was he allowed to do that? Ownership let him. Ownership allowed him to make that move with them knowing that this guy may not be here next year.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You can't even blame Pace. He's doing, anyone in that position would do the same thing. You got to look up at ownership. And I think it was the president. Who's the president that people weren't really fond of? He was there for like 20 plus years.
Ted Phillips.
George. Phillips. Thank you. Phillips. So I think Ted was the one who kind of signed off on that. So
well said. I like how you brought that up. Those are the facts. I mean, Justin was an intriguing prospect. I think the Bears like to swing for the fences for the most part. They like to make some of these big moves. You look at Khalil Mack, Ryan Pace. I'm sorry, I should say Ryan Pace likes to swing for the fences. You look at Mitch Trubisky trading up to get him, kind of bidding with yourself, overthinking it. And then, of course, have the Khalil Mack trade. You have some big bets like Robert Quinn. He just liked to take chances, and no bigger was the Justin Fields swing. And who knows how it could have played out differently, but it is what it is. So really good question to start things off. I want to bring up –
I say another tidbit before I go, because it's also important too. Mm-hmm. So Justin was QB4 drafted like in order, right? But on their big board, because we just talked about it, like take the best player available, they had him as QB2. So not only did it get approved by ownership, but you think of it from Ryan Pace's standpoint, right? Or any GM, right? You're sitting at 20 and you think you can go get the fourth quarterback taking off is really the second best one. You're pulling the trigger every time. Mm-hmm. And if you actually look at how it's played out, they weren't wrong, right? Yeah. This wasn't the Mitch Trubisky.
Well, the trade was already. Did you already mention how it was already set up? If he was there at
11, yep.
If he was there at 11, they were going to make the trade with New York, the Giants. It was already in place. So
which most of them are, because I think last year's DJ Moore trade was made at the combine, which a lot of it is done because everybody is at the NFL combine. So a lot of the trade proposals kind of get set there. So, hey, I'm not surprised by that at all.
Good question. Jack, do you want to go ahead and bring up the first question from – I want to rotate because we have a bunch on Twitter. Like I said, over 100 plus. I got some DMs as well. But if we can rotate back and forth with our live comments on YouTube, I think that'd be cool to get those at least answered while some of these guys are still here. So
cool. I'll read this one for us then. We have Football CF Candy on YouTube. Thank you for the question. Should Latu Latu be in serious consideration for the Bears? Maybe trade down and you can get him. What are your thoughts? Would you draft him? And Latu Latu is the defensive end from UCLA, who is a freak of nature. And his tape shows. Yeah.
So, I mean, he is from UCLA, correct? Yeah. I mean, he is 6'5". He's 6'6". He's just a monster freak.
Fast too.
Yeah. I mean, absolutely. I mean, I wouldn't be opposed. I would go offense, but
no, I'm sorry. Go ahead, continue.
Yeah, no, I just wouldn't be opposed. I think he's a freak. He's number 11, I think, on most big boards as far as like talent. He's ahead of Dallas Turner as well. So I mean,
it's the medicals though. That's the only condition because he had to medically retire, and then he got about his neck, and then he went and got different opinions. And he transferred and then got different opinions, and they basically said you don't need to be retired. Like
you look at, but the Bears are one of the strictest teams when it comes to medicals. And you look at Kevin White, maybe that scarred him, but it's like if they draft him, I would trust that they did that he's fine, that he's ready to go.
I trust.
If not, then that would be organizational malpractice, and that's a different story. So, but just off of that neck injury, what was that? Didn't happen last year.
No, it was like 3 years ago.
21. Yeah, 3 years ago. Almost ended his career. I think he should be fine, man. I mean, he's electric.
I saw some, I can't remember the metric PFF was using, but basically they had a metric and they basically said, if you look at the 12 people that have done this certain thing, right? Or parameters, right? There was 12 defensive ends. Out of the 12, 8 out of the 12 had been basically Pro Bowl or like all pro caliber, right? Mm-hmm. The 4 that haven't were still valuable, like starting quality edge rushers, right? I think he has like one of the highest pass rush rates out of the rest of the edges. So that gave me a little bit of confidence, right? Because it's like, look, I know numbers can be manipulated and things like that, but when you kind of look at it a whole and you can say, hey, look, he falls in the same category of X, Y, and Z, there's probably something to it, right? Like
Yeah.
Like when you look at Fields was like, yo, the only you put him in his running categories, he falls with Mike Vick and Lamar. Well, that was correct when you look at the tape and what he did on Sundays. So I wouldn't be mad about that because we need an edge. Like, again, I would also, the trade, what you get back is also important. I'm greedy right now because I'm like 9, such a sweet spot. Like, if we're going to pass up on a wide receiver, I need to get obviously you're not going to get a haul, but I would need something where I can walk away and be like, at least on paper, ooh, that looks like we won that trade, right? I don't want it to be like, oh, we traded back and it looked like we got fleeced, right? So.
Well, hey, I want to interrupt that before we move on to our other questions. Our Jack producer said there was some news here. Peter Strager of NFL Network kind of broke some more news about Caleb Williams and the Bears going out to dinner last night. The restaurant was Sophia Steak in Lake Forest. Williams was at the Bears facility today on his visit and was, as was Alabama defensive end Dallas Turner.
What's up?
Interesting, man. Some big time names coming through Hallis Hall this week. That's all I got to say. You obviously had Neighbors and Chop last week. Now you got 3 very, very, obviously Caleb's going to be a Bear, but then you have Dallas Turner and Rome Odunze, 2 of the probably most talked about at 9. Who knows if Turner's going to be there?
I feel like Turner's taken at 8, though. Don't you think the Falcons go with their defensive coach? They take Turner.
You know what? I would not be shocked if they go receiver. I really wouldn't.
I
know a lot of people
I wouldn't be. Was there enough room? No, they love Darnell Mooney. I think the GM said
but you can't have enough weapons. Look at what.
I agree.
Look at this league, man. It's all the defense is one thing. You got the hip drop tackle rule. All these. It's an offensive league. You really want to go all out. Kirk Cousins, you're a vet. You want to try to win a ring. Why not go get another offensive weapon?
So who are their weapons? So you have Pitts, you have Mooney, and you have Drake, right? So you are missing a wide receiver 3. Well, yeah, Pitts, but yeah, you are missing a wide receiver 3. So yeah, I mean, it's very possible.
Why not go young? Yeah. Anyways, though, pretty interesting stuff. I'm glad we found out at least the name of the restaurant. So.
Oh yeah, I was dying to figure that out.
Well, I want to move on to this. Well, I know we have another question a few questions in the chat, but I want to go in here. This is from Dom and Hunty on Twitter, both in our Bears group chat as well. Shout out to those guys in our Bears group chat. That's been almost 4 or 5 years old now. But they go, saw a report yesterday that we talked about earlier was Eberflus wants the Bears to go pass rusher and to pair with Sweat. Do you think they go down that route at 9? If not, where do you think they go? Same thing with Hunty. He goes, would you take Turner at 9, assuming alt and all prime receivers are off the board, or would you trade back? So the question is essentially, would you be all right? What'd you say?
No, sorry.
And then they traded for
Rondell Moore. I forgot about that. But still, they could get another weapon for the Falcons. But go ahead.
Oh, yeah. They traded a crazy, I
totally forgot about that.
Yeah. 6, something like that. Really good. Yeah. Anyways, I'll go through this one because we have a lot to go through. As far as Dallas Turner at 9, absolutely. I think we both would be excited about that if he even gets there. For me, if all the prime receivers are gone, that's the only reason I would trade back. Like I said, this draft is unique as far as depth. It doesn't go that far. This is the one to do it. Next year, you have a surplus of picks, 2 seconds, a first, of course. You really could be cooking as far as that draft goes and it being a little bit deeper. So
how about this, though? Interesting scenario here, right? Which one is going to hurt you more watching on Sunday? The lack of wide receiver, here, let's put it this way. Are you going to be more upset that there's a lack of DE2 pressure, right? Or presence on the field, right? So the guy opposite of Sweat is not doing enough. Or are you going to be more upset that wide receiver 3 is not performing enough? Because in essence, that's what we're kind of viewing right now. Because if you draft 1, obviously your DE2 is you're probably not going to get him right in this draft.
No, I'm fine. I think the Bears are too talented on the back. They're too talented.
They're back.
Sure, there might be some games where you're going up against a elite top 5 offensive line where you won't get you might not get any pressure outside of maybe Montez Sweat doing Montez Sweat things, right?
It's Lions really.
But it's like that back secondary. We talk about Jaquan Brisker, Kyler Gordon, Tyreek Stevenson, who's going to year 2, who had an up and down rookie season, but he was electric at times. You could see the talent I'm excited about that. Perhaps my favorite player next year to look at as far as that second year leap, that growth. So for me, I think, and then you look at the Bears, what they did at linebacker last year in free agency. They're ahead of the
they're
curve.
fine there. Yeah, no,
but it's like
that's a
there's
top 5 group.
Every level of that defense is, you could say, elite. But you really could. You could look at
least one. Yeah.
I mean, you say one, but I mean, on the edge rushers.
I'm saying each level has at least one. Like, so if you look at your secondary, you have Kevin Byard, you have Jalen Johnson, right? Jalen Johnson, all pro. Then you have your linebackers. We obviously TJ Edwards and obviously Tremaine Edmonds, and even Jack Sanborn. That's a great group, one of our strongest groups on the team. And then on the defensive line, you have at least Montez Sweat. So you have a piece at each level. So I'm agreeing with you. Like, I could see them saying from that standpoint, hey, we've got enough to get the job done. And then also we saw what they did last year. They got the job done. So maybe that is kind of their discussion going into this draft.
Yeah. All right, Jack, you want to bring up another question? We'll go ahead and rotate to that one.
Okay, it's here from, good luck on this last name, but Philip Palmisano, that sounds Italian, on YouTube. Appreciate the question, Philip. So what are your thoughts on the Bears' current defensive tackle depth? Would you trade back for Murphy II or Newton? Newton was the name. I think it was like Zerhan Newton, I think, from defensive tackle from Illinois. So, but yes, I can start this one. They obviously need more defensive tackle depth. And Flus has come out and said the 3-tech is the engine to this defense, which is crazy to think about because the defense played really well last year. And they, Javon was a rookie and he didn't really come into his own until like the back half of the season. So would I be mad if we traded back? No, because I believe that those two are very dominant at what they do. And again, if that's a blue chip person, I don't care. Like, I want a blue chip in every position. So as long as they hit, I'm cool with it. It is a need. We do need depth, right? Because again, Javon's just a rookie. Zach Pickens was just a rookie. So obviously getting one of those top dogs is going to be positive, if they turn out to be how they are projected to be for this defense. But again, we keep going back to this. It all depends on how this draft falls. If you're telling me we pass up on Rome, and maybe we're just too fanboy in it right now, Dave, but I just feel like that wide receiver group is so good. It's going to be hard to convince me.
Well, it's not even good. Like that helps. And that almost solidifies why they should do it. But it's where they're at as a group, as a team. You have a rookie quarterback.
Yeah. You need a lot of help.
You just want to make it as easy on him as possible. But again, they're talking about Byron Murphy, right? Out of Texas.
Yeah.
Super gifted. You look at some of these guys, like just gifted, but for him, it's like his impact. That's what I like to measure it on. Like, as far as he's a first rounder, absolutely. But his impact would be, you would feel it right away if the Bears went with him.
And it all depends on how you hit them. Like if you, I'm not saying Aaron Donald because that's the greatest of all time, but you draft someone who has that big of an impact, right? Not Aaron Donald, but like you get a defensive tackle that is the defensive tackle of your future. It doesn't matter. Like how we need to think about this draft is, as long as the people they draft are good to great, I don't care what the positions are, because if you get enough good to greats on your team, you start to look like San Francisco over time. And luckily, right? Actually, here's a great comparison. The Lions last year, when you walked away from their draft, a lot of people said, "What are they doing?" Right? Because they took Jahmyr Gibbs, a running back,
still shouldn't have taken him. I don't care what you say.
Took him early, and then the next position they go is Jack Campbell at linebacker, and then they go a safety, Brian Branch. They go Laporta, a tight end, and then Brian Branch. So you look at that and you go, those are like position value wise, those are not top of the high position values. Those aren't tackles. Those aren't defensive ends. Those aren't quarterbacks. Also, they have their quarterback. You know what I mean? But they hit on literally every one of those, at least after the rookie year. Branch was great. Sam Laporta was breaking tight end records as a rookie. Jahmyr Gibbs, right? Still good. Whether you take him that high, it doesn't matter in this conversation. But you look at the draft and you go, oh, they hit on those guys. So it doesn't really matter what position you got because they made your team better. So I'm kind of like, obviously as a fan, I want the wide receiver. Let's get someone in here to pair with Caleb. But if we look at this 6 months from now after the draft, right? Or halfway through the season, and the guys we drafted are looking, solid, I'm cool. You're not going to hear a complaint from me, even if Rome is balling out somewhere else. So I just want them to, draft the best player available, which Poles has done too. So I think that's why my trust is there, because no GM hits on every single person, but Poles has shown that he's at least batting over 500. And that gives me hope that he's going to hit more than he misses on these guys. So what's your thought? I know I went a little long there, but what's your thought on that?
On Byron Murphy or just
on Byron Murphy? Do you?
Yeah, I agree with everything you said, but it's just like you said, it just depends. It just depends on how it falls. If you told me all three of those receivers are gone, right, and went through all those scenarios, sure, I would be happy with Murphy. You could sell me on a lot of these guys if it falls the way in regards to the receivers or some of these guys just not being there. However, who knows? There was comments I was seeing about the Bears even potentially, maybe going up and getting a guy. I know it's not talked about, but it's for real. As far as a second, 2 seconds, in 2025, you have a lot of ammo next year. Why not use some of that if you really want a guy? If you're sold on a guy, say Marvin Harrison Jr. slips to 6, 7. You're telling me that's not enticing?
It doesn't matter as long as they hit. If you trade up and the person you trade up for is great, no one cares. A great example is the Falcons way back in the day gave up a haul to get Julio Jones. You talk to any Falcons fan now, they will say that was worth the trade. Julio Jones is one of the best wide receivers in NFL history, at least top 10, right? This man had multiple 300-yard games or 200-yard games receiving, right? Julio Jones is that guy. But if you trade up and miss, right, you look at what the Trey Lance trade was, or even the Mitch Trubisky trade, not as heavy as the Trey Lance trade, you look and go, that's the dumbest decision ever made. So I'm cool with trading up or trading back as long as the guy you draft, no matter what position, is that dude, So
yeah,
we'll see though. You don't know until that's the only problem is we have to wait a year and a half or 2 years to even figure out are these guys that good? Because some people take a little bit longer, and then you have some that come out the gate like Jamar Chase. So we'll see what happens.
Absolutely. So I want to get through some of these quick because, like I said, there's a lot. It says, so Mr. James on Twitter, he goes, Mr. James 8. Do you think the Bears are cursed because they didn't let Walter Payton score in the Super Bowl?
That is kind of funny. That is kind of funny because there's the Detroit Lions curse too with the Calvin Johnson. As soon as they paid him his money or he got in good terms with the team, they start winning. So I'm not even big on curses, but I'm hey, look, there might be something to that.
I don't think that one's it though.
I don't either. I don't either. Because the Bears hold Walter Payton and his family in such a high light. It's not there's a Jarrett was on our show, friend of the show. He does so much with the Bears. So it's not there's a distaste or something, a bad connection or sour relationships with the Payton family. No, the Bears idol everyone in that family.
No, but I guarantee you Walter you win a Super Bowl. I don't think he's pissed at that. I don't know. Who knows?
Ditka said it was his biggest mistake was not giving him the ball in the Super Bowl. He said that's his biggest regret. But they won the Super Bowl by 40. So are you really that mad?
Yeah.
And you're Walter Payton. I get you didn't get your touchdown, but you're one of the greatest running backs of all time. So
yes,
it is kind of funny
though. One more question on Twitter, and then we'll go ahead and move it over to another question on the live stream. This one's from Loretto on Twitter. Chill Loretto. What was one move you wish the Bears made this offseason?
Ooh.
I'll start. I wish they would have went with Saquon. I know it was a little bit more expensive, sure, but I think I was high on him. I thought that would have been not that I don't like Swift. I think he's a very dynamic back, something the Bears didn't have last year. I like the idea of having Roschon and then, of course, Swift and Herbert. I think it's a really good trio. For me, I just would have liked them to land Saquon. That's just my opinion. What about you, Ficky?
No, I mean, that'd be great. We weren't even on his list. I think it was Eagles and Texans, and he chose the Eagles, which is kind of disappointing. But I mean, I get it. I mean, you go to the Eagles, that's the best offensive line in football. Well, maybe not now because they lost Kelsey, but I don't blame him for going there. For me, DN is such a big position of need. And I'm not even saying Danielle Hunter, right? Because I don't think that lined with our timeline. I'm talking about the guy who left Houston, Jonathan Grenard. I thought that would have been a great signing. I think he's like 26, came off like his career year. A 4-3 type of guy. I thought that would have been a great, situation with us, but he ends up going to our division rivals, which this is kind of weird. Hunter is on the Vikings. He went to Houston. Grenard was on Houston. He went to Vikings. Then you saw the same thing with, oh, wow. Now I'm blanking. Who's another big one where they flipped? I'm blanking. I'll come back to it. But basically, there was two positions where it's basically like top of their position for free agency. And they're basically like, yeah, I'm not paying you. Oh, but I'll go pick up and pay this guy.
Yeah.
And it was the same teams, which is kind of, you don't see that very often. But yeah, I probably would have went DN because I think going into the free agency, I think we both agreed like defensive end, obviously, even to this day right now, defensive end was a big need. Running back was a big need. And we kind of filled the running back one, which I think is fair. It wasn't as big as needs as DN, but I mean, let me ask you this. Is there a bigger need on this team right now other than defensive end? Like, don't look at talent in the draft. I'm just saying, like, you look at the roster, probably your DE2 is probably next, right?
I think center. I know I'm excited about, I think it's
you're right.
Fine right now. I think it's patched. I think it's better than bringing in like a Lucas Patrick. But I think there is still a need, at least maybe long term, where you're like, where I'm like, I don't have to worry about that anymore. I'm not there yet. So
no, that's fair. No,
but I agree. The end
center's definitely big.
Center, yeah.
Oh, and here's the comment here from Colton on Twitter. He did answer it for me. Reddick and Huff. That was the Eagles, and Huff was on.
Shout out Colton.
Yeah,
he's on his shit.
Yeah, I can't remember where Huff. Oh, Eagles and Jets. That's what it was. They did the flip. So Huff went to the Eagles, and then obviously Hassan Reddick got traded to the Jets. So interesting. All DNs, which is weird, but yeah, we'll see what happens.
All right, Jack. Do you have the next one, my man?
All right. So I think this one here is regarding, I'm just assuming it's regarding her mock draft. If you remember that from February when she had Joe Alt going at 1 and not Caleb. I'm assuming that's what that was, but I think that's what he's wondering.
Yeah, I think there was also, she also had a clip that went a little viral with, who was it with? I don't even know who this guy is.
Joe Alt 1? Was that mock, while you looked that up, was that mock post Justin Fields trade? That had to be prior,
No,
right?
It was pre. So it was in early February, and she had Caleb going 2, May 3. Everything else was pretty much normal except for Alt going 1.
I wonder if that's what he's talking about, or if it was the clip, because it was about, I think it was with, I don't know who this guy is, but he talked about how really wanted Caleb Williams to be reunited with Cliff. And kept on using that as like that's my reasoning. Like that's people were like, get out of here.
Bad. That's too fucking bad. How about that? Like that's it.
But I do remember seeing that mock you're talking about.
That Jaden Daniels, she had going 1 recently. So it looks like she had Jaden going at 1 instead. Seems like she hates Caleb, but
no.
I don't know. I think everyone wants to try to make some noise before the draft, and
I don't blame them. If that's your moneymaker too, go ahead. And
here's the thing.
Guessing, so.
At the end of the day, if she's right, she's gonna look like a genius. If she's wrong, no one's gonna remember really. Maybe some people might pull the receipts. Yeah, there's just so much. It's just a guessing game sometimes. It's just a fun little exercise. So, is there another question, Jack that we can go to before we get to these
Robert Lee on YouTube said, "Do you guys think there's a chance we could wind up with Rice? He's got the DNA. I mean, it's possible. He's not. I'll tell you one thing. He's not going. I can't say certain. He's going like probably 3rd or 4th round is where they have him projected. So we could draft him, but don't expect it with any of our top picks.
Hey, that Bears for real kind of goes hard. Not even gonna lie to you. If we're ever gonna make a change,
Bears for real's good. I saw one. I think Jack put one up.
I seen what you're talking
earlier.
about.
That's the big effing rods. That was kind of funny, but. Also, my girl always would be like Bears fan room, and I was like, I didn't think about that either. But no, it's Bears film room. Maybe it's one of those things. It changes over time. But no, that's cool.
I always just like the mystique of it. Like I don't really like to say what it is, honestly. Yeah. But anyways, there was
so big fucking rods. It is all right. That's cool. Yeah. We'll stick with that.
Good God,
we'll stick with that one then.
What was that last question?
I don't know. Going to bring up.
Do you guys think there's a chance we could wind up with Rice? He's got for some reason I was thinking of the Chiefs Like,
oh, bro, no,
what's
not right now.
What is his last name? First name? Rasheed. Yeah, I was like, I know he's not released, but I was like, is that what we're talking about right here? But then I was like, oh, Brendan Rice, which I talked about. I actually watched some of his tape. I think it was the day after his pro day with Caleb. I was like, I wanted to know a little bit more. I obviously heard about him, but like, I think he would be such an interesting pick just because talk about chemistry. Sure. How much does that really matter? Coming from, college to pro, I don't think that's going to be just, but to have him as a wide receiver 4, maybe 5 even, I think that'd be awesome.
Yeah. He'd probably be battling 4.
Tyler Scott.
But still,
between him and Scott.
They're two different. Those are two different type of wide receiver. Brandon Rice is not like the athleticism of Scott.
And
Rice is.
And I know we've had Tyler on the pod, friend. I think Brendan would give him a run.
I'm not saying they would. I'm saying though that they're two different type of wide. Like Brandon Rice is a big body type of. He's not like very Not saying not very athletic because these guys are way more athletic than.
He's faster than you think, though. I think he's faster than what a lot of people give him credit for.
Right, but you're looking at Tyler. Yeah, Tyler Scott's a certified speedster. So yeah. You're looking deep routes with Tyler or screens or things like that. Brendan Rice isn't getting screens and things like that. I wouldn't. Again, we talked about it. You need some weapons, right? So I'm not going to be mad about it if we decide to get some weapons. Now, if we get Rome first or Neighbors, in the first round, I don't think they're going Brendan Rice because at that point you have DJ, you have Keenan, you have Rome or Malik, and then you have Tyler Scott and Velus Jones. At that point, no, we're not drafting Brendan. That's too many wide receivers in the room, I think.
That'd be hilarious.
Feel something else. That would be wild, though. That would be wild.
Jack, any other questions before I kind of move over to Twitter and kind of knock out some of these?
JP Gutierrez on YouTube said, hopefully I didn't butcher that, by the way. Is there a chance Marvin Harrison Jr. drops to 9 with Neighbors being hyped up and the lack of the pro day and combine participation? I'm a quick answer here. I'm going to say no.
I'm going to say yes.
Jack in the background's all happy clapping.
I'm going to say yes. You never know with the draft.
You don't, but if I was a betting man, I would not put money on it.
You never know how these GMs could be like, they may take it personally. They'd be like, who does this kid think he is? Some shit like that could be crazy. Next thing you know, he's available at 7, 8, 9. Who knows?
I
doubt it.
No, there's been worse decisions made in the draft, so I agree with you completely.
Yeah.
It is,
and then there's reports about he asked these guys. He asked I think 5 or 6 NFL teams that he met with at the combine, and he said, is there anything else you want to see from me? Anything else you need? Nothing. They're like, no, we've seen everything. We're good.
What else do you need to see?
I doubt it, but you never know. So
no, you're right.
Jack, any others?
Wait, before we go, we do have a super chat here. Thank you, Jack. Already ahead of it, like always. $5 from Tito. Appreciate it, Tito. So is it just me, or even with the draft and training camp and how the Bears look on paper, we still got to wait till at least week 6 to be excited? I mean, kind of like we can, there's different points of excitement, right? We got the excitement for the draft. We finally get our guy. Then it's kind of, we got to wait because nothing really happens. Then it depends on if we get what's the NFL Films thing? Why can't I think of it?
Hard Knocks.
Hard Knocks. Thank you. If we get Hard Knocks, excitement might be going a little bit earlier than expected, but then we don't get excited till like preseason. We see Caleb play. And then really, figuring out like how quickly he adjusts to the NFL. Does he come out super hot like Cam Newton did his rookie year? Just goes crazy, right? Or do we have more of a Trevor Lawrence situation, which I don't think so because Trevor was in a shitty situation. But yeah, we kind of have to, it's a rookie quarterback. So I don't expect week 1, he's throwing 400 yards, 3 touchdowns, 0 interception type of day. It might be, like you said, we might have to wait till week 6, week 4, maybe week 8. But I think by the end of the season, we'll have a good understanding of who Caleb is.
Trevor Lawrence still dropped 3,600 plus passing yards in his rookie season.
Yeah, I saw some
touchdown interception ratio is not great, but
he's still balled enough where you knew he was your franchise guy, right? And that's all we want from Caleb. I saw some projections for Caleb being around 3,500, which would be cool. And his interception was I think it was 25 touchdowns to 13 interceptions. I'd be cool with that for rookie year. I'm not mad about that at all. So we'll see what happens. I'm excited either way. I'm sure there'll be a down period when there's literally no Bears news, but I'm sure Bears Twitter drama will fill that space. So I'm sure there'll be something.
I don't fuck with that.
I'm sure there'll be no way. No. We don't mess with it, but by God, it'll have something to spare the time. So, Jack, any more on that, or Dave,
one more, last one?
Perfect.
We'll knock it out and move to Twitter.
All right, Jerome Munez. I definitely know that face on here. Dave, question for you. So I will not answer this one. If all 3 wide receivers are gone, would you trade back?
Yes.
Easy said.
Still like Bowers, still like Dallas Turner if he's available, but yes.
Oh, how about this? All right, let's do it then. All 3 wide receivers are gone, but Brock Bowers is still there because he would be if all 3 are gone, and Dallas Turner is there. Because basically, let's say the Falcons take Rome. What?
No.
How about this?
Give me one.
What's your pick? What's your pick at 9 then? Rome just went to the Falcons. Brock or Dallas?
Oh man, I like Dallas Turner a lot. I would probably go. I'm gonna go Brock. I'm gonna stick with that.
I like Dallas.
I like Dallas. I would really like that. It's like flip a coin there, but I think offensively, I'm talking about Caleb, right? I know the defense is great for a rookie quarterback. No, give this guy another weapon. I know that'd be 3 tight ends, but holy shit.
Yeah, that's my only thing. If we draft him, I want him on the field.
I just think he's electric. I like him a lot. Maybe I'm too high on him. I don't know.
No, you're right up there. He's one of the best tight ends prospects in a super long time. Yeah. Like he's Caleb Williams of.
He's a receiver. He's like a receiver. Like he really would be. I know we're talking about the receivers are gone. He really can classify as that type of player. I know he's a tight end, but.
Jets would be pissed because a lot of mocks have him going there.
Yeah. So. Like Aaron Rodgers doesn't need another weapon.
You know what? Fun fact. I don't know it's fun, but it's more of a fact. He doesn't really use his tight ends that much. So do they draft him? We'll see.
I don't know. Talent-wise, I think you do it. Best player available.
You got to, right?
So let's move on to Twitter here. A bunch of questions. Let's try to get through these as quick as possible.
All 100 of them.
So there's so many. With the state of the roster, pretty good shape, salary cap expected increases, what should be a reasonable expectation for a contention window going forward?
Wait,
I think it's right now.
Who was that from? Who is that from?
It's from GG Gray Ghost on Twitter.
Okay, appreciate that. So can you read it one more time? Sorry, I kind of got lost in that.
With the state of the roster, what is a reasonable expectation or contention window going forward?
Ooh, so that's
when do you think it opens up?
We have to define what's contention. Is contention making the playoffs and making some noise?
Contending for a Super Bowl.
Then it's not this year. I don't think it's.
I think it's this year.
There's no way we can.
I think it's this year.
There's no.
I think the window opens right now because it's all about Caleb. If he comes in, you tell me he comes in and he's CJ Stroud or maybe just a little bit less, but has a Cam Newton, some type of rookie season where it's like he's the real fucking deal. And then you compare everything else. I think the Super Bowl is, I know it's unlikely, but I think if he comes in hot like that, the Bears can make noise and they can maybe make a run deep into the playoffs. I'm not saying they're going to win the Super Bowl. I just think that window, you would have the belief going into week 16, 17 before the playoffs. Say the Bears are on a roll. Caleb's balling out. And I know this is high expectations and it's probably best case scenario, but I think that's where that window, I think the window expectation wise could be this year. But as far as like likelihood, you're probably on board with what you're thinking, which is what, 2025?
No, your last statement I'm on board with because you said earliest. I agree. Like if Caleb comes out here and balls, then yeah, absolutely. Right. I think that's the case. We have a good defense.
I guess the question was reasonable.
No, that's fair though. I think it's good for discussion. I would probably say so. Let's say Caleb doesn't have a CJ Stroud year, but has that's our franchise guy, like a good year, like a good rookie year. Mm-hmm. I would say then the following year is probably a good win.
Yeah, but you ask anybody probably, but you ask Caleb more so than anybody else. It's like
probably
this guy,
as soon as he gets in,
he's such a different, he's wired differently than any other quarterback I think we've had. Even Justin, love Justin, but it's like Caleb is unique in regards to his confidence, man. Yeah. And I'm telling you. If he figures out,
he gets going.
And that's why it's like weapons. Obviously the lines can be important. Tevin Jenkins staying healthy. Having a center that's not throwing balls to the left, right, and get blown up and within the first second of the ball being snapped. Yeah, I think all these things are just factored in around it. It's really looking like Caleb's going to have a very not easy rookie year, but it's going to be a good transition for him, a healthy transition, which is rare. So
yeah, and I think just like with Patrick Mahomes, like once he got hot, he came in hot right away his first year. But once he got hot,
he sat on that bench. He sat on that bench for.
He was ready to go. So I could see. No, he did though. He sat on the bench for 16 weeks.
No, but but when he came in, and you're right. He hasn't relinquished.
He hasn't slowed down since, right?
Yeah.
So if he obviously Patrick Mahomes, it's an anomaly. It's one of the greatest of all time, along with Tom Brady. But like if he comes in and he kind of gets hot, I think he has that confidence. Where it's like he's gonna keep balling.
For me with Caleb, and this is why it's like I understand that we talked about how good everyone's talked about. It's like you get like the prospect fatigue where it's like Caleb, but he's been number one for a very long time. He was what Trevor Lawrence was for all these years. It's like for me, I'm not gonna shy away unless I'm proven otherwise. Like right now, I'm just like Caleb Williams. I believe he's going to transition well.
Wait a minute. Sorry, no, I just noticed your board finally changed in the background. It says Caleb Williams season. I just now noticed.
Yeah, it's so funny, dude. You're so funny. Yeah, this is the first one, but for our YouTube listeners or for our Apple, Spotify, it's like a marker, kind of. It's not a chalk. It's like
also started bleeding.
Yeah, okay. My wife was a teacher. She was a teacher in school, all that. She's a teacher, and this is her board she used in her classroom. Well, she's no longer a teacher. She's kind of moved on, like administration wise. And anyways, long story short, it's like a marker, and so like I didn't let it dry when I threw it up there, and so I came back the next morning. I looked at it. I'm like, that shit's crazy. I'm like, I ain't fixing it right now. But yeah, Caleb Williams. And then right there is actually above it is the PFF draft guide printed out all everything. Which I mean, yeah. So that's like a little made that. And then Caleb Williams is obviously the cover. So thought that was pretty cool. But yeah, it's the first time I changed it. So
no, I just noticed it. I don't know why now, but you're talking Caleb, and for some reason my eyes looked up and go, hey, look at that. So,
yeah.
So well, you're right. The board is correct. It is.
I tried to find a pink. I tried to find a pink, but she didn't have a marker that was pink. I thought it would have been funny.
That'd have been perfect. We're just waiting for the painted nails. So one episode, I'm sure. Yeah. No, that might have. We beat the Packers twice. I saw.
This is a good question, Ficky. This is from Sauce Feet on Twitter. Legit. He goes, name. If you were Caleb Williams, would you target DJ Moore or Keenan Allen more often?
I think he's going. Well, okay. That is.
Probably
I think he's going to target whoever the play's designed for. So the question I think more is, who are they going to design plays more? And I feel what's going to happen. I think DJ Moore is going to have way more big plays. I think DJ Moore is going to have way more big plays. He's shown us he's a big play guy. I think like when we're like, oh, look at that throw by Caleb, it's going to be to DJ Moore. But when you look at the stat sheet by the end, you made a comment like Keenan Allen's probably going to have like 9 reception games, $110, right? Nothing. He didn't have any like super big plays, but guess who's getting the ball on third down? Guess who's getting it on, a big crucial play? I think it's gonna be Keenan Allen. So I think that's gonna be more of his safety net.
Look at receptions, right? I mean, just DJ Moore. I know he's played with some shitty quarterbacks in his career, but last year he had 96, which is a career high. Then it was 63, 93, 66, 87, 55. Then you look at Keenan Allen, who's a target
all
machine.
in hundreds, right? Yeah.
108. Yeah. 66 because he got injured in 2022. But then 106, 100, 104, 97, 102. I mean, he's just ridiculous.
He's going to get
108 receptions in 12 games.
Is wild.
Because he only played 12 games last year. And he still outpaced Stephon Diggs, who played the full season. I think he had more
career year with 12 games. Isn't that crazy?
That's why it's so exciting. I know he's older.
I mean, he had Herbert throwing the ball. But, bro, I was watching some film of him. He's going to be Caleb's best friend. Also, because he's a route technician, which is good. And then also he knows where to sit in zones. So there was a chart. I can't remember who did it, but a statistical chart, which basically showed like wide receivers versus man versus zone coverage, right? And then put them in quadrants, like based off their success rate. And basically in the top percentile was DJ Moore against man, right? Which makes sense. Justin Fields' best games were against man defense. It always has been. So he went off against that. And then guess who versus zone is in the top percentile as well? Literally up there with the top dogs is Keenan Allen. So you look at how that's going to be with having a man and versus zone. It's going to be a good mix. And I think it's going to be very helpful for your rookie quarterback either way. But yeah, I agree with you. Target machine, Keenan Allen, he's probably going to get more looks. But go ahead, Dave.
Yeah, I'm going Keenan. That's all I was going to say. I think Keenan would be targeted more often. Just he's taller too, a little bit safer option. I know DJ's
safer for sure.
Everything. Great catch radius. You saw what he did with Justin. I think the fact that we're arguing or I mean,
it's great.
You have an argument for both of those guys.
Awesome.
But I would, if I had to say, I feel like Keenan, just based on how he plays and his history, his track record, I think Keenan's going to get a little bit more target wise, maybe a little bit more safer. Okay, second and third down, you need 3-4 yards, go to Keenan real quick.
Absolutely.
Right?
Him or
But then you got
absolutely.
the splash plays, like you said, where DJ's gonna,
do something.
What comes
crazy.
to my mind is the Washington game, right? He ices the game. Justin throws a dart to him, near the sideline, and the defensive back try to jump it, and DJ's gonna make you pay. He's Yak King. So I think it'll be interesting next year with the rule changes as well to see how DJ kind of takes advantage of that. So now this is from Austin Z on Twitter, Austin_Z101. Which Bear are you most sad to see go this offseason?
It's probably got to be Darnell, because I have a Darnell Mooney jersey. Okay. I've always been a Darnell fan. I know he didn't perform, like the end of his career, at least with the Bears, wasn't as like fruitful as the beginning, but like Darnell's been here through this whole shitty situation. Darnell was the only reason we were excited for Justin Fields. Well, other than Justin Fields, his second year, because he went up for 1,000 yards and he had tons of big plays, even in his down years. Like the obviously he had his injury year, not last year, but the year before. But even last year, he made some big plays, right? He's still separated. He may not have gotten the ball all the time, and still recovering from injury, but Darnell Mooney was probably the second, before DJ Moore got here, he was easily the number one most exciting player on this team besides Justin Fields. So to see someone like him go, and obviously his bond with Fields as well, it was tough. It was the right move, but the fan of me was like, oh, dang, that was my dude.
I love Darnell. I'm totally on board with that one. Eddie Jackson saw a comment in there. That's a tough one to go. Yeah, but I think the easiest one for me is Justin. Just because it was not, some people might have been just the easiest,
Yeah, I didn't even think about that.
To let him go.
Yeah.
I'm glad you let me have that one because, Justin was, he was electric. You talk about that 2022 season, how he, you talk about Mooney, but it's like that season right there, when you win in 3 games and you still have a lot of fun, that's weird. And that's just because of Justin, what he did, predominantly that year, how electric he was. Soldier Field, he got the place. It was fun. I'm not going to go crazy. Go watch the Justin Fields episode where, we react to, him being traded and our thoughts there. But hardest one to see go was Justin, just given the fact that it was such a weird and fortunate circumstance the Bears are in this offseason. So I think mine, Justin, Mooney second, Eddie Jackson. Lost some big guys, some big names.
Yeah, even Cody Whitehair. I know Cody Whitehair hadn't been that guy for a minute, but he was on this team for
dude.
8 seasons, 7 seasons. Like him and Eddie Jackson have been here staples for this team for a long time. So the thing is I think maybe why I didn't think about Justin's because I mentally have been preparing. Like I thought it was going to happen based on what people were feeding me, but also Mooney, we weren't sure on, right? Like there really weren't reports on like whether they were going to, I think it was leaning more. He was going to leave.
Yeah.
But there could be a reason he could.
I think I told you this. I told you. I think I let you know. Well, we were told. So basically, there was a comment we got. Basically, middle of the season. I can't go too into details, but someone ran into Mooney. Someone ran into Mooney. His father. They got the chat, and I'm not going to say where. But it was. They ended up saying Mooney was like, I think it was week 9, something like that, when this happened, and he said, "Hey, I'm not coming back. This is my last year."
If I'd have known that information, or maybe
I thought I told you. Yeah,
you may have.
I don't think I ever. It was something offline I couldn't share, but so I knew right away that Mooney was going.
Well, then there you go. That's why. So then
didn't know he'd go to Minnesota. I didn't know he was going to be recruited by
not Minnesota.
Kirk Cousins.
Falcons.
Falcons.
Yeah, basically. At that point, that was Minnesota. But he got the bag too. So
speaking of Justin Fields, I want to move on to this next question here.
No,
Clark on Twitter, Clark Golf. Is it goes, if the Bears have pick number 2 instead of no 1, is Justin still on this team?
Oh, yeah, I think so.
I don't think he is.
You think they take? Oh, you know what? I actually agree with you because of comments recently by
rookie quarterback contract.
Yep. Poles mentioned that recently, was like, hey, the timing of the contract. So I think you might be right.
Exactly. If those comments didn't come out and I didn't know that, it would still lean maybe, but it'd be a lot more like, okay, I think they keep Justin. But it's like, no, I think they're keen and very set on moving on just because Justin didn't do enough to move that needle. So
here's another question. Let's say this, right? Fields beats out the Packers, right? So they're at the last one,
Oh,
right?
I like that.
Plays well, right? Plays like really well. Let's say it has like 275
one on record,
yards.
yeah.
We have 300 total yard game or something like that, right? Beats the Packers. We obviously the Houston loses that game, which they should have, and we are at 2. So now you have Fields and like the view of Fields, the vibes are very high, and he balled out, and you have the second pick. Do you think Ryan Poles still says rookie contract?
I'll tell you what, if he beat the Packers and he balled out in that week, I think he's here. If they have pick number 2.
Yeah, if it pick 1, no. I think
pick 1. I still think Caleb's too electric.
Yeah, I think it's.
But yeah.
Yeah, so. I think they were sold on Caleb pretty easily. So, but yeah, that rookie contract comment really was like, oh, okay, that makes like we thought about it, but like hearing it from his mouth was like, okay, I mean, makes sense. You're honest about it. So,
yeah, absolutely. Let me go ahead and bring. Just for some reason I refreshed it. For some reason, the questions here. So, let's see here. What are your predictions? Record, roster, stadium, location? 1 year from now, 2 years from now, 5 years from now. Okay. Wow. I guess I should have read it before it. Yes. So Bart, who's Bart on Twitter? Okay. Bart Upa on Twitter goes, "What are your predictions?" So we'll start year 1 with Caleb.
Okay. Record. Well, what is the record? Okay.
Just record. We're gonna stick record here. I'm not. No offense. We won't get into roster, stadium, location, but
I'll go 10-7.
Oh, I'm gonna go 10-7.
Okay.
I like that one. That's a good one. Year 2.
I was thinking. Oh, year 2. Okay, so that means we're obviously playing well.
And we don't know. We just thrown in here.
Okay. You know what? I'll say plus 2 wins. So I'll go 12-5.
13-4.
Okay.
I think they make that jump. Now now for the final, I'm going to spice it up a little bit. Do they win a Super Bowl within the next 5 years?
If Caleb is playing, so in my projection, Caleb's playing pretty well. So yeah, 5 years. Yeah. Oh no. I don't know. It's hard to win the Super Bowl. I think we get to the Super Bowl. I think we get to it in 5 years. Win, I don't know, but we'll get there.
It's hard to predict that. I'll just say, yeah, if Caleb's the guy, I don't see.
Well, if Caleb's the guy, then yeah. Like if he's truly that guy, look what
But there's some luck that goes into it too. You look at the Chiefs that just keep getting back to it. That's just hard to do. I mean, unless you're the Patriots too. I don't know. If Caleb is the guy and he's Mahomes-esque, maybe. But you look at Rodgers, who's super talented, and he didn't have that. He just couldn't get there all the time.
Yeah, but he still got one.
Yeah, and NFC is pretty weak right now. Outside, I'd rather be in the NFC trying to get to that Super Bowl than you look at the AFC where you go against.
Yeah, AFC's a juggernaut.
Lamar, Josh, Allen, and then you got Mahomes. So
I'm good.
Let's see here. Do you think the Bears have plans to extend Allen for 1 or 2 years, or do you feel like it's a wait and see how his health is this season? This is from Peter Stasik on Twitter. Stellar Pete is his at.
Yeah, that's a tough one. I've kind of been going back and forth. I don't know because we've seen if we go off like what Poles has done in the past. He trades and then extends right away. At least we saw it with Montez Sweat. Obviously, we only have one data point, right? Because the other trades he did not extend because they didn't play up to that, like Claypool. So if I'm going to go off of that, I'm like, you would probably have already done it, right? And then also, are you holding off because you know what the numbers are because of what the Chargers offered? Like that was out there, right? They offered a certain amount, and he's like, no, I'm not doing that. So is Poles more of like a wait and see because that's a big amount of money that he wants to extend? I honestly don't know.
Hear me, though. Maybe I think there's talks. Maybe.
100%.
No, but hear me out. Are they waiting till maybe after the draft to see how it falls? Because I know Keenan, a 4th round pick, you can argue, is that expensive? Is that, without an extension, is that a high price? For me, no, especially if say they land a receiver and you get Keenan able to help not only that receiver next season, but also Caleb Williams. So you get him for the full season, and then he's off the books, right? He's older. Who knows about his health? But at the same time, he not only helps your rookie quarterback, he could potentially help Odunze, obviously. And then, sure, maybe a deal doesn't get done, but the Bears have a lot of success, and perhaps you get a deal done before free agency or maybe even during free agency. and you get Keenan Allen on another 2 years, that might be more expensive, right? But for me, maybe just right now with the numbers and where they're at, because polls, he likes to stick. His team, they stick to that fucking number.
Love it. Yeah.
I don't care if you're Keenan Allen. Yeah. The only person that may get them to budge is maybe Caleb Williams 3-4 years from now, where he's
that's fine.
I think I heard, I don't know where it was from. Could he ask for $1 billion? Could he be the first? Like, he could be if he is electric, if he is the guy, top 2 in the NFL, I guarantee you, he might be the guy. Be like, I'm gonna need $1 billion, $1 billion contract.
That's funny though.
NFL money, dude.
No way that's happening, bro. The NBA has way more money, and LeBron has never gotten close to a bill.
I saw that shit on. I thought it was about him potentially being the guy to ask that. So could the Bears
just buy the Bears? Fuck a contract, bro. Just say you own the Bears.
Can you imagine George McCaskey just getting word like, oh yeah, Caleb, he requested,
bro, he'd have a heart attack.
He wants $1 billion contract. He wants to be the first. George, shit,
bro. No,
trade his ass.
Yeah, as I say, unless we've won like 3 to 4 Super Bowls like in a row, like he comes in here and he's won back to back, then take $1 billion. But no, get out of here. That's funny.
I don't know why that made me laugh when I see.
No, that is funny. That's just because you can kind of see it. Not really. You can't really see it, but you kind of can. It's like, oh, that's kind of funny. So
yeah.
But what was the question? I forgot. Did you already ask it?
Extension for Allen. Do you think it's in the works, or do you think they're going to wait until his health?
Know what? I'm cool with either or. The extension, I just trust Poles and his numbers and the capologist, whoever it is. Like they do a good job with the numbers. So if we do extend, I feel that we're not putting ourselves in a bad situation.
I was worried about Montez Sweat because it took a week, maybe 2 before that was solidified.
Yeah.
Like now it's the off season, so it's a little bit trickier. I mean, Keenan, I know it's his agent is probably doing the working, but it's like the off season, man. It's like
time.
Things are a little bit slower, in my opinion. So it's like we could get an extension, but it might be, training camp bomb.
We can get one in September. Ryan Pace used to do extensions the
mid-season
first week of the NFL, bro. We don't know.
So for me, I'm not worried. I think I would be worried after maybe week 10 and there's nothing done.
Especially if he's balling out. If he's balling out and there's nothing, that'd be a low concern. So
let's see here. So we already kind of asked this, but what are your realistic expectations for year 1, Caleb? Individually for stats and amount of wins for the Bears.
Okay, so wins, we need at least 9. Hopefully trying to I want playoffs, right? But if we miss it because of injuries and things like that.
And then give me touchdowns, interceptions, yards.
Okay, so yards, I would like to have 3,500 plus. Okay, passing. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Total, I would want to get around like 37, 38. If you get like 200 to 300 rushing, that's very possible. I'm cool with that. Touchdown to interceptions, I want like 20 plus and under fit. So 20 plus touchdowns, right? At least passing, right? Or let's just do total. Let's do 25 plus total touchdowns and interceptions. I want under 12. Under 15. So if you hit 15, but you have 25, I'm cool with that.
You kind of, I think I'm going to say 10 wins on the season, just because I think the roster, not even just Caleb, but I think just in general, 10 wins, I think, is achievable. Also, the Bears are going to have they're going to have a last place schedule.
Yep.
Again, I know that it's all about when you play. Then you look at Caleb. I like the yards. I think 3,500 yards total. And then I think 25 touchdowns. I think I'm right there with you. I think those are realistic, not to be too crazy, not to be too high. However, I think
breaking rookie records.
He has the ability to, not even just his ability alone, but when you factor in everything else, especially if they get Rome, why not be the guy who gets 4K? Why not be the first one in Bears?
That would be a stealing.
It's never been easier from a league perspective passing, and you throw in the talent around him. Why not?
And himself, yeah, absolutely.
And then himself.
That would be the ceiling, and that could easily happen. I'll tell you one thing: if he doesn't break rookie records this year for the Bears, I know that bar is a little bit lower. It's like 2,300, and some of the other numbers aren't that high. That would be concerning. We have to walk away and be like, "That's the franchise guy." Go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, this is from Chris Warnke on Twitter. Chris_Warnke42. Grizzly, polar, or panda? Just from a Bears perspective, what do you want? What do you like more?
You know what, bro? A grizzly bear will fuck you up. So I'm gonna go grizzly. Those are some big
Well, I don't know if he was going like who wins, but if you're doing that, yeah, I think
no. But I mean, that's my parameters. I'm like, yo, I like
pandas, dude. I don't know why. I'm a big panda guy.
Well, they're cuter and they chew on bamboo, so that's nice. But like, it depends on the situation. What are we doing here? You know what I mean?
From Michael Haddad on Twitter.
What a question! I love that one.
M Haddad 21. What will happen if Caleb Williams is a bust? This podcast would no longer be a podcast.
No,
Rest in peace, BFR Podcast.
Because our episodes would be wild because everyone in here would be going crazy. So I hope you know what? I'm not even I love the question, but I'm not even gonna put myself in that situation. I don't even want to think of that narrative or scenario happening. So I pray to whoever I need to pray to, the football gods. I'll get on my knees every night to pray that doesn't at least be above average. Like that needs to be your floor. I cannot go through another year of just like abysmal quarterback play, at least from the passing standpoint. You know what I mean? Because that's not disrespecting Fields. Fields was the best runner ever. But like passing the ball, please, bro. Dave, in our lifetime, can we have one? Just one. I'm not asking much.
Bro, I've been asking. Quarterback. Just come on. and now I'm getting greedy because I'm like, we get Caleb. I need it consistently.
Well, we haven't been fed in a while, so we're like, give us our food now. So I don't blame it, but
yeah, absolutely. So quite a few more questions. We've been going for an hour and 41 minutes here. I'm going to save. I think I'm going to table some of these. I have them bookmarked. We like I said, it's a long off season. We have a couple more weeks until the draft, so we're going to have another Q&A. We'll hopefully get I know Kyle Brandt. He went ahead and confirmed he's going to be on before the draft, so we'll have him maybe in a couple weeks here just before. And then, of course, we're going to try and get some more really cool guests coming on the show here over the next couple months. So if you guys are here still, first of all, hit the like button. Hit the like button. I know I keep saying it, but I don't know why you're not. If you're in the YouTube app, it's super simple. If you have an account, just go ahead and hit the like button. We appreciate it. You guys are awesome. Everyone that's been around tonight, we appreciate it for your, what is it, Wednesday?
Yeah.
No, Tuesday?
I can't count the days.
It's anymore. Tuesday evening. We appreciate you spending the time with us.
It's definitely Wednesday, is it not?
Shout out to Drum. Oh, is it Wednesday? Oh, it's Wednesday.
It's been a long off season, bro.
Long off season. But we appreciate everyone that's tuned in. Apple, Spotify, we appreciate you too if you're listening to this. If you're watching this later on YouTube or whatever platform, we appreciate you. Lot of great content coming. Yep. If you want to follow the podcast on all socials, it's BFR_pod. Instagram, TikTok, everything's kind of blowing up. We appreciate the love. YouTube, Apple, Spotify as well. And then if you want to follow Ficky, all socials, it's Ficky Baby. Follow all his work over there. And of course, sportsmarket.com does help run this show. It is presented by them. I cover the Bears for them. So go ahead and check out all my work over at sportsmarket.com. A lot of great writers over there. And we appreciate your guys' support on everything that we do. Ficky, anything else, man, before we head out?
Before we go, let me give the shout outs. We do have some in here. Jack, if you don't mind pulling them up. Of course, always ahead of it. El Campa Gronky on Facebook said hashtag new face gang. Thank you. Appreciate you joining. Welcome to the crew. Lesus on YouTube said hashtag OG. Love the show. Appreciate it. Thank you for tuning in. And our boy, I think it's a boy. Maybe not. Sorry if I mispronounced it. But Jerome Munez with the hashtag OG. Much love to all the OGs, new people in here, every single person, literally like Davis said. I know we say it over and over again, but we're really trying to build a community here of Bears fans. Me and Dave and Jack, we're Bears fans just like you. We just want to build a community that's a fun place to come here and talk about this team, win, loss, tie, hopefully win moving forward, but everything Bears. And we're just glad that you decided to join the community with us. And like we said, we got some great stuff coming like around draft time. Man. And we're always working to improve the show, get great guests on, just, make things that are better for you guys and deliver more value. And we got some stuff that I think you'll be happy about here moving forward before the new season starts. So thanks for sticking around with us this long. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Off-season schedule, one episode a week. So again, if you're new here or if you've been here, you know the schedule. Right now in the off-season, we do one episode a week. Of course, we'll have emergency episodes if we need to, podcasts. And then, of course, we will, once the season is back, we will go ahead and go back to 2 episodes a week. Pre-game, post-game pod. We do it live. Of course, we'll have the voicemail line that will be back. That was a big hit at the end of the season. So a lot of stuff. We're excited here. Bears are going to be on Hard Knocks. I'm calling it now. So get ready for that. We'll have to do reaction.
Absolutely.
Episodes.
No question.
So anyways, we appreciate the love. I'm not going to keep going on here, but if you can, before you end the stream or even after, go ahead and hit the like button, subscribe if you want to stick around. Of course, all our Apple, Spotify, Google podcasts, wherever you listen to audio, we appreciate the love over there as well. So we'll be back next week, and bear down.
Peace.